They told everyone I gave up, that I was lost, wasting my potential. A could-have-been story already fading. They never asked me why I stopped showing up, why I started walking slower, why the fire in my voice became a whisper no one noticed. They just nodded when someone else filled in the blanks. She quit. She cracked. She was always too sensitive. No one knew I was still trying, just not in the way they expected. They rewrote my story before I had a chance to live it. I wasn't failing. I was rebuilding, just not visibly, not loudly, not in the language they understood. It wasn't shame I was feeling. It was silence, heavy, sacred, and a little bit suffocating. Because when no one believes in you, even your own heartbeat starts to doubt itself. But the thing is, belief isn't a group project. Sometimes it only takes one person, one stranger, one moment of unexpected recognition to light up everything that others tried to snuff out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. My name is Olivia Barnes. I'm 29 years old, and I live in Portland, Oregon. And this is the story of how I went from invisible to unforgettable. But not the way you think. Not with awards. Not with applause. Not with viral videos or magazine covers. It started with a chair. A plastic one. Squeaky. Slightly tilted. And a room full of people who still didn't think I mattered. Let's rewind a bit further. Because before the spotlight found me, even for a second, I had already been burned by the shadows. And yet somehow, they never consumed me completely. You see, they believed I failed. But their boss? He believed I never stopped. When I was in high school, everyone thought I was going to be a surgeon. I had the grades. I had the patience. I had the look of someone who would walk confidently through the halls of a teaching hospital with a stethoscope around her neck and a clipboard in her hand. I played the role well, too. Volunteering at the local hospital on weekends. Staying up past midnight memorizing anatomical charts. Winning awards in biology and chemistry. My parents, especially my father, used to say it like a prophecy. You'll be the first doctor in the Barnes family. And not just any doctor. Dr. Olivia Barnes. That has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? And I'd smile. Because what else was I supposed to do? Back then, I didn't know the difference between a goal and a burden. I only knew that praise felt like love. And pressure felt like proof that I was worth something. So I followed the path. Pre-med at Stanford. Study groups. Labs. Exams. Overnighters. Coffee that tasted like burned dreams. Notes covering every inch of my dorm room. But something started cracking during my second year. It wasn't dramatic at first. Just moments where my body wouldn't move, even though my alarm had gone off. Blank stares at pages I used to absorb like oxygen. This strange, bitter emptiness whenever I looked in the mirror. I thought it was just stress. Everyone hits the wall, my academic advisor told me. Just keep climbing. Don't stop now. So I didn't. I kept pushing, studying, performing, pretending. Until one day, I walked into my organic chemistry final and walked right back out 5 minutes later. I left the test blank. Not because I didn't know the material, but because I physically couldn't sit there anymore. I couldn't pretend to be that person anymore. That day, I dropped the class. Then I dropped out entirely. When I called my parents to tell them, there was this long, empty silence, like they were holding their breath, waiting for the punchline. Olivia, my mother finally said, we've already told everyone you're applying to med schools. What do we say now? My father didn't say anything at all, just hung up. After that, I moved back to Portland. Not because I had a plan, but because I had nowhere else to go. And here's the thing about failure. It doesn't always explode. Sometimes it drips, day by day, moment by moment. It shows up in small humiliations. Old classmates asking how med school is going, and you smiling like a liar. Relatives whispering in the kitchen. Former professors pretending not to see you in the grocery store. My mom would tell people I was taking a break. My aunt once said at a family gathering, we don't talk about that anymore, when someone asked what I was up to. I wanted to scream. Not because I needed them to be proud, but because I needed anyone to see that I wasn't just falling. I was trying to climb again. But when you're rebuilding a life, brick by brick, and no one's watching, it starts to feel like maybe you never mattered in the first place. I started working odd jobs. Receptionist. Freelance proofreading. Temp gigs that lasted 2 weeks and barely covered rent. I remember once, I was microwaving instant ramen in a shared office break room when I overheard a former high school friend talking about her wedding. She was marrying a neurosurgeon. Imagine being married to someone who literally saves lives, she giggled. And I just stood there, holding that steaming cup of broth, thinking, no one imagines being married to someone like me anymore. I wasn't just off track. I was invisible. And the worst part? I started to believe that maybe I deserved it. Until one day, something small changed. No, not something grand. Not a spotlight. Not a sudden miracle. Just a flyer taped to a bus stop. White paper. Black ink. Slightly crooked. Tech assistant needed. Seniors welcome to. Training provided. I stared at it for a full minute. And for some reason, I tore off the little tab with the phone number. I had no idea then, but that torn edge of paper was the first thread in a tapestry that would unravel everything they thought they knew about me. The office was nothing like I imagined. Dim fluorescent lights. Coffee stains on the carpet. Computers older than some of the people we were teaching. A cracked sign above the entrance that read Digital Nest, empowering seniors through tech. I walked in, expecting it to be temporary. Just a gig. Something to fill time until I figured out what I really wanted. They paired me with a woman named Ruth. 79. Purple cardigan. Hair like spun snow. She hated technology. This machine hates me, she muttered, tapping the spacebar like it had insulted her grandchildren. It doesn't hate you, I smiled. It just needs a little help understanding what you want. She looked at me skeptically. So, do most people? We both laughed. A little awkwardly. A little genuinely. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I showed up to help Ruth log into her email, search for old photos, play bridge online, and eventually video call her son who lived in Boston. This thing, she whispered once, clutching the tablet like a sacred relic. You brought my baby into my living room. That moment stayed with me. It didn't make headlines. It didn't win awards. But it mattered. It was the first time in years I felt like I was doing something real. I started training more people. Not just Ruth. There was Stanley, who wanted to write an online memoir. Doris, who learned to shop for her own groceries. Howard, who just wanted to watch old westerns on YouTube without the ads. These were small victories. Invisible to the world, but electric to me. Every successful login was a celebration. Every moment was a spark in the dark. They didn't know I had dropped out of Stanford. They didn't care. To them, I wasn't a failure. I was a guide. A bridge between confusion and clarity. And slowly, piece by piece, I began to rebuild myself through them. I took online courses at night, learned basic coding, UI design, digital accessibility for older users. I started drafting lesson plans, improving the interface of the tools we used, suggesting better workflows to the manager. One afternoon, while testing a voice-assisted email prototype for the visually impaired, something clicked. I wasn't just helping. I was creating something that didn't exist before. A system, a service, a structure that connected people the world forgot to the world that moved on without them. It still didn't pay much. My parents still didn't ask about it. But when Ruth hugged me after her first email to her granddaughter, that felt richer than anything I imagined a white coat could offer. Soon, I stopped checking LinkedIn to compare myself to my former classmates. I stopped apologizing when someone asked me, "So, what do you do?" I still said it softly, though. I help seniors with tech. And when they nodded vaguely or changed the subject, I didn't flinch. Because for the first time in years, I knew it mattered. I wasn't where I planned to be, but I was no longer lost. By the end of my second year at Digital Nest, everything changed. We weren't just a group of volunteers helping seniors log in anymore. We were onboarding over 1,200 seniors per month across 5 counties in Oregon. We had trained dozens of volunteers. We had translated our modules into Spanish, Vietnamese, and simplified Mandarin. We launched an app, Yes, a real one. With voice navigation, oversized text, and customizable features for accessibility. One of our monthly newsletters had a 78% open rate. That's higher than some Fortune 500 companies. We partnered with local libraries, retirement homes, and 2 small tech companies who donated refurbished tablets. I was promoted to program director. Not that titles mattered much in a community nonprofit, but still, it meant I was steering the ship. Designing systems, writing curriculum, presenting impact metrics to donors. The biggest surprise? I started getting emails. Not from friends. Not from family. From strangers. Thanks to your program, my father now orders his medication without needing me to visit every week. My grandma watches our wedding video every day. She cried when she learned how to replay it herself. I used to feel guilty for not visiting my mom enough. Now she sends me gifts. It's weird and I love it. These messages filled something in me I didn't know was still aching. But at home, the silence remained. My parents never asked about my job. Not really. At Christmas dinner, when my cousin Julie mentioned she'd seen a Facebook post about Digital Nest, my mom waved her hand. She's always been the free spirit. Likes helping people. Not much of a career, but it's cute. Cute. Julie was an accountant. My brother, Nick, had just made senior associate at a law firm in Seattle. His name was always said with reverence. Nick's flying to DC for meetings. Nick's boss said he has partner potential. Nick's so grounded. Me? I was still the girl who cracked. The one who left med school. The one they didn't quite know what to do with. At family gatherings, I was asked to take photos. Set the table. Help with the tech stuff, naturally. Olivia, can you connect the Bluetooth speaker again? Liv, can you help Grandma print that thing? Wait, which cable goes where? No one asked me how I designed an app with senior-friendly navigation. No one knew I gave a talk at a regional conference about accessibility and user design. No one saw me stay up past midnight writing grant proposals or troubleshooting why one batch of tablets refused to connect to Wi-Fi. To them, I was still figuring it out. And for a long time, I let them believe that. Because explaining it, trying to prove it, felt like screaming into a soundproof room. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. One night, after a long team meeting and a broken Zoom link that nearly derailed our monthly training, I opened my laptop and stared at my screen. There, blinking at me, was a small message in the corner of our team chat. "We couldn't do this without you." It was from Jade, our volunteer coordinator. 7 words. That's all. But I cried. Not because I needed praise, but because I had spent years in silence, believing maybe I didn't deserve to be seen. And here was someone who saw me. Still, every family dinner felt like walking into an old movie I'd outgrown. The script was the same. The characters hadn't changed. "So, Nick," my uncle said once, carving into his turkey, "how's corporate life treating you?" Nick chuckled, adjusting his cufflinks. "Busy. You know, we're restructuring our M&A portfolio." Everyone nodded, impressed. Then came the inevitable turn. "And you, Olivia? Still doing the computer stuff with old people?" I smiled calmly. "Yeah. We're scaling our model across 3 new cities next year." "That's nice," my dad said, without looking up. "You always liked helping people." As if helping people wasn't serious. As if it wasn't real work. But in that moment, I didn't correct them. Because I no longer needed them to validate my path. Still, I wondered, what would it take? What would it take for them to finally see me? I didn't know the answer. But the universe did. And it was already setting something in motion that none of us could have predicted. It was a Thursday, mid-October. The kind of crisp, golden Portland morning that made you want to wrap yourself in a scarf and walk slowly. I had just wrapped up a workshop at the Beaverton Community Center. 15 new seniors signed up. 3 had never touched a smartphone before. One man, Harold, had pressed the power button like it might bite him. By the end, he was sending selfies to his daughter in Utah. It felt like a good day. I stopped by a small cafe on the way home, my little ritual after big events. Same corner table. Same order. Oat milk cappuccino and a slice of banana bread. The place was buzzing, filled with college students tapping away on laptops, two moms wrangling toddlers in the play area, and a group of professionals by the window, deep in conversation. One of them caught my attention. She was in her 30s, blazer, hair pulled into a loose bun, the kind of woman who looked like she lived in airports and spoke in pitch decks. She wasn't talking, though. She was listening, intently, as a man, probably in his early 40s, told a story with his hands moving wildly. I couldn't hear everything at first. Just fragments. She made this app, what's it called? Elder something. Elderbright, the woman said, nodding. I froze. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. I swear to God, the man said, my fiancé's grandpa couldn't even turn on a phone 2 months ago. Now he's texting her daily. She cried the other night when he sent her a video message. Said she hadn't seen his face in real time since the pandemic. That's beautiful, the woman replied. Who runs it? He shrugged. I don't know. Some non-profit chick. But she's doing God's work. Non-profit chick. I blinked. My stomach twisted, not in pain, but in disbelief. It was the first time I had ever heard my work mentioned by a stranger. He didn't know me, but he knew what I created. I tried to focus on my coffee. I couldn't. I kept listening, heart pounding. I think the name was Olivia something. I saw it on their about page, the woman added, sipping her tea. That her? He asked, pointing casually at me. I stiffened, looked down, tried to seem invisible. She turned. Our eyes met. For a second, nothing happened. Then her eyebrows lifted in slow recognition. You're her, she said, standing and walking over. You're Olivia Barnes. I managed a shaky nod. I'm Dana Wells, she said, offering her hand. I work with community health initiatives at Oregon Health Authority. I've seen your impact reports. They're incredible. Her voice was warm, steady, certain. The man joined her. You seriously changed my family's life. I wish I could explain how much it means. I stood up, unsure what to say. My heart was thudding in my throat. Thank you, I whispered. That means more than you know. Dana smiled. Have you considered partnering with state programs? We're looking to expand digital literacy across senior care homes. You're doing what our consultants are just beginning to dream about. I nodded slowly. We're open to that. Always. She pulled out a business card. Let's set up a meeting. I'd love to talk about scaling this. And just like that, they were gone. The cafe noise returned. Cups clinking. Kids laughing. Espresso steaming. But I stood there for another minute, stunned. Not because I was recognized, but because for the first time, the truth walked in by itself and refused to stay quiet. No LinkedIn post. No family introduction. No need to explain. Just the echo of real impact, circling back to me like a boomerang I didn't even know I threw. Later that night, I sat on my couch with a mug of chamomile tea, staring at Dana's card. Partnerships Director. And beside her name, the OHA seal. I thought about how far I'd come. From the girl who cried in a student health clinic at Stanford, to the woman whose quiet work now had a voice of its own. I didn't text my parents. I didn't post about it. I just sat with it. Grateful. Anchored. Seen. The next time I visited home, something had shifted. It wasn't dramatic. No fireworks. No standing ovation at the dinner table. Just subtlety. My mother met me at the door, apron on, flour dusted across her shoulder. She smiled in that half-tired way she always did but added, softly, "Dinner's almost ready, Liv. Your favorite eggplant parmesan." She hadn't made that in years. Later, as we cleared plates, my dad sat at the head of the table with a newspaper in hand. But he wasn't reading it. He kept sneaking glances at me, as if he was trying to find something new in the face he'd always known. It was my brother, Nick, who said it first. We were on the back porch, the two of us nursing cups of black coffee. "So, I heard about your app," he said, not looking at me. My body stiffened. I didn't want sarcasm or half-hearted praise. But then he added, "One of my clients runs a senior care facility in Seattle. They use it." She raves about it. Told me it's helped reduce emergency calls. Said her residents feel less isolated now. I turned toward him, eyebrows raised. She had no idea we were related, he said, chuckling. When I told her you were my sister, she said, she's going places. I didn't say anything. Just let the wind carry the silence. I'm proud of you, Liv, he said after a while. I know he never said it, but I am. Something inside me softened. It wasn't validation I needed. Not anymore. But it felt kind. Later that night, as I unpacked my overnight bag, I found something folded and tucked into my sweater. It was a note. In my mom's careful, loopy handwriting. Liv, I don't always understand your choices. But I see now that they were never mistakes. I hope you'll forgive us for not seeing you sooner. Love, Mom. I sat on the edge of the bed, the note in my lap, fingers trembling just slightly. I didn't cry. I didn't frame it. I didn't take a picture. I just folded it again and tucked it into the side pocket of my purse. A quiet peace filled me. Not the fireworks kind. Not the victory dance kind. The kind that settles into your bones and stays. Because somewhere along the way, I had stopped needing applause. Stopped seeking permission to be who I already was. I thought about all the seniors who'd found connection through a touchscreen. I thought about the volunteers who stayed late because they believed in what we were building. I thought about the quiet ripple effects, the ones I'd never fully see. And I realized something. It wasn't pride. It was peace. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that doesn't beg to be noticed. The kind that knows it matters, even if no one claps. If you've ever felt like you were standing in a room full of people and still somehow invisible. If you've ever worked quietly, lovingly late into the night and still no one noticed. If you've ever dared to believe that maybe your life was meant to move differently than what they expected from you, then this story was always yours. Because what they called failure, what they dismissed as detour or delay or just a phase, it might have been your exact path to purpose. I used to think being seen by others was the goal. But now I know being seen by yourself, really seen, is where it all begins. And let me tell you something beautiful. Sometimes the world catches up. Sometimes the very people who overlooked you will witness your light, shining in a place they never thought to look. Maybe you're there now, in that place between trying and giving up, that quiet hallway where nothing seems to move forward, and yet, something inside you is still whispering, don't stop. Not yet. I see you. Not because I've met you, but because I was you. I was the girl who walked away from the path that had approval, but no soul. I was the woman who started again from a tiny basement office with a secondhand laptop and a Wi-Fi connection that barely worked. I was the invisible spark in a room full of spotlights pointed elsewhere. And now, without screaming, without begging, I stand in my own story. Not at the center of attention. Just centered. And that's everything. So if you're watching this from your bedroom, or a bus stop, or a late-night shift where no one says thank you, please hear this. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not a mistake in progress. You are becoming. In your own time. In your own way. And the people who are meant to witness it will. Eventually. So tell me, where are you watching from? What part of your story still feels invisible? Drop it in the comments. Not because I want views, but because I believe every quiet voice deserves to echo somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, your story is the one someone else needs to hear tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And if no one's told you this lately, I'm proud of you. There are more stories like this coming, real ones, raw ones, honest ones. About second chances. About rising slowly. About being enough, even when no one claps. So stay. Not just for me, but for you.